Hi, welcome back to Turbulent Flow. I'm Renee, your professional engineer, recreational circus performer, and two-time breast cancer survivor. Now living life as the official term as a flatty. That's not really what I'm going to talk about today, but because it's t-shirt weather, I'm definitely starting to get a lot more experience. I'm getting some experience. I'm getting some experience under my belt of basically sort of going out in public with, as you can see, nothing. Yeah, that's my dog barking downstairs because she totally does that. I think the other one has come upstairs, so he'll probably potentially be making an appearance. This is Mr. Billy. He's a so yeah, apologies for that, but this is a one-shot kind of blog vlog, so I don't edit, I don't cut, I just start talking, and whatever happens clearly happens. So yeah, where was I? So yeah, let me see, that's the biggest update, sort of, well, from a breast cancer standpoint. We're coming up on 5 months. Next week will be 5 months since the double mastectomy, and it's getting to a place where it's starting to feel normal. The numbness that I was experiencing, it's still a little bit numb, but it's not nearly numb in the way that it was before. So I'm getting used to it. It's feeling a little normal. I'm not using compression garments nearly as much as I was at the beginning. At the beginning, in the first 2 months, really, I was wearing like some sort of compression like every single day, and then as some time went by, I was basically just like I was wearing compression every night when I went to sleep for quite a long time. Sort of those Shapermint tank tops, like tight tank tops. I've got quite a collection of tank tops right now, because sometimes, especially in the beginning, I would wear at least a tank top and then my shirt, because I needed a tank top to basically make sure that I didn't get a lot of sort of movement and motion. And that's becoming less of an issue now. So there's a lot less sensitivity to whatever I'm wearing on top of my chest, kind of moving around, and just sort of the fabric. I certainly wouldn't want to wear any sort of fabric directly over my chest that had any sort of texture plus movement. So like if I had like a ribbed shirt or something, I wouldn't want that moving over top of my chest. I think it would still feel quite weird. But this plain cotton t-shirt is right now all I'm wearing, with nothing underneath, and it's okay. It's okay. It's not feeling nearly as weird as it was. So on that front, 5 months. 5 months, and this part of my body is starting to feel normal. I don't think about it nearly as much. I wouldn't say that I can now go like an entire day without really thinking about it, but I definitely am not thinking about it to the same extent that I was. I still notice the spots where the drains come out. Those are still kind of the most sensitive locations, which is really funny considering that I got like some pretty serious scars, across the front of my chest. But no, it's the little dots. It's the 2 little dots, one on this side and one on that side. Those are the spots that are the most sort of persnickety when it comes to sensitivity. So that part's been interesting and weird. Okay, so that's breast cancer update. The other big thing, the whole reason why I didn't do any videos last week, was because I was quite nervous about something. I had booked a trip. I'm Canadian, based in Toronto. I work as an engineer. A project came up that basically asked me to go to the United States. I haven't been there in years. The reason why I haven't been there in years is because many, many years ago, for complicated reasons that I'm not even going to get into, it's very long, very drawn out. Anyways, nobody did anything wrong, but things got confusing, and I ended up getting turned away at the US border. That's sort of the most important part. I got turned away once. When you get turned away once from the US border, even if you are still legally allowed to cross the border, you get put on a list, which means every time you try to cross that border, you get some extra scrutiny. You know, the people working there are just doing their jobs, but I get extra scrutiny. So I know every single time I'm crossing the border, I'm looking at least 1 to 3 hours of delay in wherever I'm trying to go, just to basically make sure that everything's kosher and that all the boxes have been ticked. So understandably, I work as a consultant. I have other people that work for me. So for the years since that started happening, I send other people. It just makes things more predictable for everyone. It makes it more predictable for my clients. It makes it easier for me, you know, and it means I have an excuse to take all the jobs that are in Europe and China and exciting places like that. So I go to Mexico, I go to China. I've been to China once. I'm throwing that around like I go to China all the time. No, I've been to China once. It was super amazing. I really do hope I get to go back. But I've been to Mexico, I've been to Europe, you know. I get to do these sorts of things for my job. So why did I go to the United States, you might be asking, especially if it causes me this much anxiety? Well, it was an opportunity. This is where my very deeply geeky engineering side is going to shine, because it was an opportunity to actually go to a manufacturer's site, a place where they actually make what's called a quadrupedal autonomous mobile robot. The layman's term for that is I got to go hang out with some robodogs, you know, those four-legged autonomous robots that that you may have seen on some videos. I got to see some of those. I got to actually do my job in relation to those particular robots, because my area of expertise is in robot and automation safety. So it was an incredible opportunity. I'm the person at my company that has, not even just at my company, I am simply one of probably a fairly small number of people in the world that has the level of expertise and experience in robotic safety and in automation safety. I've been doing this for over 25 years. So yeah, I'm extremely experienced in my tiny little world of engineering machine safety. I'm an expert in this one little thing, and I've been doing it for a very long time. So I was the person who it made the most sense to go and meet with the manufacturer, see these particular, very cool robots, and this is what I do. So how could I say no to that? I'm not going to go into any details about the actual work, since that obviously is confidential. But I can, when we talk about these things, for anybody who's interested in geeking out, I can say that I learned on that trip that it seems that there are 3 companies in the United States that are actually manufacturing these types of robots at this particular point in time, and I know that there's at least 1 company in China that's making them. I would imagine that there's probably more, but so right now, to the best of my understanding, there are 4 different models or brands of these robodogs. For anybody who's interested, yeah, there's about 4 of them, and they're pretty interesting machines. So of the 4, I have indeed had a chance to sort of see and do some work around 2 different kinds from 2 different manufacturers. And if you're trying to guess which manufacturer I was at, I can tell you it's not the one that you're thinking about. It's not the one that everybody associates with these robodogs, because they've got the biggest marketing. I have not actually been to that particular manufacturer. Haven't seen one of those yet, but they're all pretty similar. So that's what I was doing earlier this week. I was pretty nervous about crossing the border for reasons that I think are probably fairly obvious at this point in time. I didn't want to talk about that on social media before it actually happened, because we've all heard stories that, you know, different things related to customs, that they look into your social media, they look into what you've been saying. I don't even know. I simply, this is my job, this is my work. I did not want to put anything out in advance that might make things more difficult than they needed to be. Happily, I was traveling to do work for a Canadian company that was looking, you know, is looking at this particular, you know, machine, because that's what these robodogs are, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they're machines. I'm looking at this machine because they want to bring it to Canada. So my evaluation was very Canadian centered. All of the work that I was doing was for Canadian companies. So, you know, super duper above board. I wasn't doing anything that would have, you know, officially ticked any, you know, incorrect boxes from the U.S. side. But I just 100% did not want to risk, you know, my client's convenience. Basically, I didn't want to risk, you know, just getting stuck at the airport and having to call them and do the whole. Yeah, I know, you know, we paid money for tickets and we did all of that, but they're not letting me through, and I'm not sure why. So if there was anything I could do to make sure that it didn't, you know, that it went as smoothly as possible, staying off social media seemed like one of the things that I could actually do. So I did it. But now I have gone, I have come back, I did my work, it went extremely well, I'm pretty proud of it. Clients seem pretty happy, which is obviously, you know, one of the most important things. And now I'm going to stop talking about that, because yeah, they were really interesting machines, you know, but this is where I get to say, yeah, the robodogs are really cool and they're really neat machines, but I get to see a lot of really neat machines. I'm not gonna lie. I've been a machine safety consultant for over 25 years, and in that time I have had a chance to see a lot of interesting equipment, and even more so, in addition to all those really interesting machines and interesting places that I've had a chance to see, I've had a chance to see them evolve, and that has been the really special, or not has been, it is the really special thing about this particular phase of my career, is the fact that I do have the history of having watched sort of the automation revolution over the last, you know, several decades. And I'm looking forward at the fact that it is making another shift. Like, this is the interesting thing about what's happening with industrial robots, certainly in particular, is that for the last, you know, the first 20 years of my career, you know, from a safety standpoint, you know, the robots were here and the people were here, and basically from a safety standpoint, my primary job was to make sure that they were never in the same place at the same time. You know, so if the person was here, the robot was over here. If the robot was here, I had to make sure that the person was over here. Well, those rules are changing. Now we've got collaborative robotic applications. We've got autonomous mobile robots coming in. We've got automated guided vehicles, just different things that are coming out on the plant floor where the people and the machines are occupying the same place. And from a safety standpoint, that's really exciting for me. You know, it's new and it's challenging, and, you know, unfortunately, there are probably going to be mistakes made along the way. So I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I'm part of the conversation, so that we're not at least remaking mistakes that have been made in the past. Because that's how a lot of safety has, you know, and safety regulations and safety applications have gotten done over the years, was by learning lessons. And most of those lessons came at the expense of human lives. So I'm doing everything I can to, not create panic, but also get the designers and the engineers to at least not remake mistakes that we have made before. If we're going to make mistakes, for goodness sakes, let's make them new ones. I know that sounds trite, but if we're gonna screw up, let's not screw up in ways that we've done in the past. That's kind of the motto that I try to live my life by. The long-standing joke has been, I try not to make the same mistake twice, because there are so many other mistakes I could be out there making. And so with that, I'm going to sign off and probably go get just a little bit more work done. I just came back from aerial silks class, so I've got a little bit of stretching to do. I taken a shower, but I got to stretch out and get ready for the weekend. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you have a good weekend, and stay safe. Bye.